On July 31st, 1999, 17 years of age secondary school seniors and best friends J.B. Beasley and Tracie Hawlett started their journey from their old hometown of Dothan, Alabama. They were going towards a birthday party for J.B. in Headland, Alabama, yet the girls wound up getting lost along the way. In a call to her mom from Ozark, around 11:30 p.m., Tracie illuminated her mother that they were returning to hometown. However, neither one of the girls could at any point make it home. Their lifeless bodies would be found the next day in the trunk of their car. What could have happened to them? Did it have something to do with the party? Or on the other hand, did the young ladies run into inconvenience out and about heading back from Ozark? Welcome back to Friday 13 Crime Stories channel, where we cover addressed, strange and wound cases from across the globe. What's more, today we're taking a gander at a case with an insane, unexpected development. However, the town was not the type of place to hit the headlines until the gruesome double homicide of two high school seniors in 1999, which baffled the community for years to come. J.B. Hilton Green Beasley was brought into the world on July 31st, 1981, to Cheryl and Hilton Lanier Beasley in Troy, Alabama. After her parents divorced, she moved to Dothan with her mom in 1984. She was adored by her mom, as well as her stepfather, Joey Bagoon, whom her mom wedded following a couple of years. She experienced childhood in a decent home in Dothan alongside her four sisters. J.B. grew up to be an extremely cordial girl who was engaged with different exercises, including cheerleading, dance, piano, and swimming. She even modeled for a few organizations, alongside her sisters. Other than every last bit of her leisure activities, she adored spending time with her friends. It was secondary school where J.B. met her fellow cheerleader, Tracie Hawlett, and the two didn't take long to turn out to be best friends. Tracie Jean Hawlett was brought into the world on March 3rd, 1982 to parents Carol and Robert Hawlett. Sadly, her dad, who worked in the Dothan police office, kicked the bucket when Tracie was just 5 years of age. Her mom later remarried a man named Mike Roberts, who aided raise Tracie alongside her mom. Dissimilar to J.B., Tracie was a piece modest, yet never wondered whether or not to put individuals before herself. She was also very protective over her two siblings, who were a lot more youthful than her. She was a mindful, more seasoned sister. Tracie likewise went to Northview School and routinely got high marks and was a cheerleader. As the two young ladies were blooming into their adulthood, J.B. and Tracie were unmindful of their horrendous destiny, which would strip them of all their future expectations and dreams. On July 31st, 1999, at around 10:05 p.m., J.B. and Tracie left Dothan in J.B.'s dark 1993 Mazda 929 to go to a birthday celebration organized in J.B.'s honor in Headland, only a couple of miles north. Be that as it may, the girls, being new to the streets prompting their objective, before long ended up in a difficult situation. Inside a couple of moments of beginning their journey from their hometown, they got lost. Around 10:30 p.m., J.B. and Tracie halted at a BP service station close to the convergence of highways 173 and 431 in Headland looking for bearings. Utilizing a payphone at that corner store, they called their friends to get better bearings to the party. After the call, girls continued to head to arrive at their objective, yet rather wound up in Ozark, Alabama, around 24 miles northwest of Headland. Acknowledging they actually didn't understand the direction to the party, at 11:30 p.m., the girls halted at the large little store. Although the store was at that point closed by then, Tracie called her mom from the store's payphone. She educated her regarding how they got lost and wound up in Ozark, also that they were presently wanting to return home. Simultaneously, a lady named Marilyn Merritt and her daughters halted at the corner store to purchase a soda. The girls then asked her for headings back to Dothan. Marilyn attempted to make sense of the way too as she could, and the girls seemed to understand. Marilyn would later agree that she saw that the girls looked quite polite, with a perfect and clean car. Marilyn saw the girls hauling out of the parking and turning right, similarly as Marilyn had coordinated. Albeit nothing appeared to be not right at that point, J.B. Beasley and Tracie Hawlett never made it home. The next morning, August 1st, 1999, at around 8 a.m., Tracie's mom called the police to report her little girl missing. It didn't take police long to find their first clue regarding the young lady's whereabouts. Soon thereafter, after Tracie was accounted for missing, cops effectively found J.B.'s vehicle, which had been left on Herring Road in Ozark. The most peculiar thing was, in spite of having filled the fuel tank the other day, the tank was practically unfilled. The car was sloppy, the driver's side window was somewhat down. At this point, the entryways were locked. In any case, police couldn't track down any indications of a constrained passage into the car. Inside the car, JB's driver's permit was lying on the dash. The purses of the two girls were still inside the vehicle, alongside their money. The main missing thing was JB's vehicle keys. Be that as it may, there is no indication of both of the girls. A palm print was recuperated from the storage compartment top of the locked trunk, which gave the police a premonition feeling that something was terribly off base. Surveying the scene, cops speculated that the locked trunk could furnish them with critical signs. However, without the keys, they couldn't open the storage compartment. It took them 6 hours to find that they could open the storage compartment of the vehicle with the assistance of an inside hook without requiring a trunk key or a locksmith. After opening the trunk, police made a horrifying revelation. The lifeless bodies of the two girls were inside. The girls were completely dressed, however their jeans were grimy starting from the waist. The two girls had been shot once in the head, Tracie in the temple, and JB in the right cheek. Tracie had a 9mm shell casing on her leg, scratches on her arm, and her pants had thorn briars on them. JB's garments, then again, were sloppy and filthy, particularly her recently bought shoes. In spite of the fact that investigators presumed that the youngsters were killed execution style, they had in all likelihood been killed within the trunk. As the families were educated about the tragic discovery, specialists officially began their crime investigation. Despite the fact that investigators were thinking about burglary as a potential thought process during the underlying period of the examination, it was immediately precluded in the wake of affirming that the young ladies' satchels had, as well as their cash, jewelry, and credit cards stayed inside the car. Post-mortem examinations later affirmed that there were no traces of alcohol or medications in their system. The report additionally proposed that neither one of the girls had been sexually assaulted before their end. This fundamentally precluded the chance of being sexually motivated. Nonetheless, over 2 months after the fact, the State Investigative Laboratory gave a report demonstrating that there were follows JB's bra, underwear, and skin. The palm print recuperated from the cover of the truck additionally stayed unidentified. With no matches in the framework and nobody to think about their proof against, investigators were left without a lot to go on. As expression of a twofold homicide of two high schooler young ladies spread like quickly, specialists were no near focusing in on a suspect. A prize was likewise put out trying to accumulate data with respect to the homicide, yet it revealed no new leads. Be that as it may, specialists, it appeared, before long made a startling leap forward. On September 1st, precisely 1 month after the missing of JB and Tracie, Ozark inhabitant, 28 years of age Johnny William Barentine, came into the Ozark Police Division to recount an unusual story. He guaranteed that he had been an observer to the high-profile twofold manslaughter of the Dothan young people. Barentine let police know that the evening of the homicides, around a similar time Tracie Hawlett called her mom from the payphone at the large little store. He went out to purchase milk for his 2-year-old child. He asserted that while he was out, he had seen the unpleasant act. He got back at 1 a.m., noticeably steamed, and let his wife know that he'd been hit by a dark truck close to Herring Street. Soon after JB and Tracie's homicide, when he imparted the data to a portion of his friends, they persuaded him that he ought to go to the police with this data, as it very well may be connected to the killings of Tracie and JB, which wouldn't just assist with policing break the case, yet could get him the compensation too. Shockingly, in the 4 hours of interview with Ozark police, Barentine changed his story multiple times. As per then Ozark police boss Tony Spivey, Barentine at first expressed that the evening of the killings, he had seen a dark truck hurrying away from the area where the girls were found. Yet, as the meeting proceeded, his story continued developing and evolving. At long last, he claimed that he'd picked up a tattooed man he didn't know, and the two drove by the store. He further guaranteed that the man to whom he'd given a ride got into a car with 2 girls, whom Barentine recognized as the departed Dothan teens. He said they wound up on Herring Road, where the man constrained the girls out of the car. A battle happened between the man and the girls as they were attempting to move away. Subsequent to setting them in the trunk, Barentine said, he saw something in that man's hand minutes prior to hearing 2 shots, and when the man returned, Barentine again gave him a ride from the scene and afterward returned home. In another rendition, Barentine admitted to specialists that he realized the man he'd got and given a ride to is his neighbor. Alarmingly, Barentine himself resided under a mile from where police had found the bodies. Police didn't buy a story, naming him as a great suspect in the twofold capital homicide case. In any case, there were a few issues with his records. Barentine never referenced sexual action that would represent the semen tracked down on JB's clothing and body. In addition, the neighbor he embroiled had an explanation for the night. A few group noticed that he looked frightened and like he had quite recently awoken from a profound rest in his mugshot. Soon after capture, Barentine quickly conceded that he had created the entire story to gather the award cash. In any case, police at the time accepted they captured the ideal individual. In the primer hearing on September 21st, Alabama Department of Examination Specialist Charles Huggins affirmed that Barentine was able to describe the girl's clothing and other items consistent with the crime, suggesting he was there at the scene. From the hour of his capture, Barentine was held without bond in the Dale County Prison in Ozark. In an October 18th bond hearing, Barentine denied he was engaged with the killings, admitting to the appointed authority that he never picked up Tattooed Man and saw nothing the evening of the homicides. He said that he essentially went to the BP at around 11 p.m. to get milk for his son and later created the entire story to claim the reward money. In any case, he was denied the bond and sent back to prison. In any event, during this violent time, Barentine's relatives supported constantly him. They even gave meetings to the media affirming his guiltlessness, saying he was unequipped for harming anybody. Barentine's lawyer, Bill Kimmons, likewise kept up with that his client was not answerable for the twofold killings in any capacity whatsoever. He further expressed that the 4 hours of continued interrogation negatively affected Barentine, who had enveloped himself by this wreck of an untruth. During police questioning, he was never informed that he could go to the restroom or was allowed to leave at whatever point he needed. Barentine's lawyer likewise brought up the way that Barentine just completed the 7th grade and a part of the 8th grade. He said his client was in a custom curriculum classes, demonstrating his powerlessness to arrange for this terrible wrongdoing. Barentine was at last let out of prison on December 17, 1999, after it was uncovered that Barentine's DNA didn't match that from the semen tracked down on JB's body and clothing. In January 2000, a Dale County grand jury declined to prosecute Barentine and cleared him as a suspect in this twofold homicide. After Johnny Barentine was gotten free from doubt, the examination got through a misfortune. The strategies utilized by investigators were likewise scrutinized. There started to be mutterings that the Ozark police were unequipped for dealing with the case. However, police actually had a few expected suspects on their radar. One of the most practical suspects was a man from Michigan who was at a party the evening of the killings close where JB's vehicle was subsequently found. Investigators found that the man, who was not openly named, left town not long after the homicides. Investigators had even gone to Michigan multiple times to talk with him. He was unable to represent 3 or 4 hours of his experience the evening of the killings, and later offered a few dubious expressions to individuals. In any case, the police declined to expand on these supposed proclamations. As it ended up, he was additionally later precluded by DNA. Another critical lead police were pursuing during the underlying period of the investigation was the driver of a little white pickup truck. A video reconnaissance camera inside the huge little store got a grainy, low-quality picture of what gave off an impression of being a little white pickup truck at the service stations. Simultaneously, JB and Tracie were at the payphone calling Tracie's mom. No digital trail could be followed, however, as there was no record of a gas purchase at the pump at that time. The video neither showed anybody escaping the truck, nor did it show the driver obviously. In the wake of delivering a photograph of the truck to the media a month into the examination, police encouraged general society to offer clues. Tragically, both the driver and the truck evaporated immediately and inexplicably as the lead disappeared. The last lead for the examiners was a man from Mississippi. Police said the man, who was removed from Jones County, captured there on an extraordinary warrant for ownership of medication stuff gave in Ozark. The man had been remaining with family members in Ozark, however left 2 days after the killings. As per Spivey, agents needed to address him regarding the case. In any case, no critical data turned out considering this lead. With practically no proof, investigators had to let him go. In March of 2000, a lady called police and said she heard shouts and 2 shots close to Highway 123 South. At the point when inquired as to why she didn't approach, she said she was terrified to reach out. In view of her description, police completely looked through the area and found a 9mm slug, a similar kind used to kill the girls. However, the brand name of the projectile didn't match the brand of bullet shell casing found on Tracie's body the evening of July 31st, 1999. Moreover, the unspent slug had no markings that would assist with legal correlation with other proof for the situation. Once more, one more impasse for investigators. Although a few leads throughout the time demonstrated to turn into dead end, specialists never lost trust in the quest for a DNA match. As the grief-stricken parents of JB and Tracie attempted to move on, the case turned cold. Then, years after the fact, one more turn for the situation added one more layer to the amazingly exhilarating secret. Subsequent to staying cold for a really long time, 2015 would stamp a stunner charge in the homicide instance of JB Beasley and Tracie Hawlett. Rena Crum, a sworn Ozark helper cop, approached and straightforwardly blamed an Ozark cop for killing JB Beasley and Tracie Hawlett, and others of concealing it. Rena claimed that the evening of July 31st, 1999, a cop for Ozark police pulled over JB Beasley, requesting to know the whereabouts of some tapes that contained recorded discussions. As per Rena, these tapes might have implicated Ozark cops with respect to the unlawful business of cocaine circulation. The episode swelled into the killings of 2 blameless adolescents, she further claimed. Rena guaranteed that she'd been undermined by numerous policing who knew about the killer's personality and concealed it by disposing of proof. Rena named 3 police, Gary Butch Whittington, Rex Tipton, and Eddie Henderson, blaming them for pestering and compromising her. She ventured to say that then, at that point, police boss Tony Spivey, who dealt with the first examination, had additionally helped cover it up. In any case, she avoided uncovering the name of the cop who, she guaranteed, had really dedicated the homicides. Prestigious American columnist and paper supervisor John B. Carroll composed an article saying that he accepted the official being referred to assume the 2 girls planned to involve these tapes in a legal dispute that was booked for August 2nd, 1999, under 48 hours after they were killed. The tapes were to be placed as proof into that case. In this article, Carroll likewise expressed that Rena was seriously beaten with a baseball bat in the wake of approaching, which prevented her from naming the killer. The 3 blamed regulation authorities had all denied having any association for the situation. The charges exploded on various genuine wrongdoing sites and media, prompting a slander claim. On January 29, 2016, Keith Cawthon, Rex Tipton, Tony Spivey, Eddie Henderson, and Gary Butch Whittington, all Ozark, Alabama police authorities, documented a claim against Rena Crum, John Carroll, and Dean Matthews for criticism, libel, and slander of character. That case was excused in 2018. In May 2016, Rena Crum got a suspended sentence and a $250 fine subsequent to being sentenced for bugging JB Beasley's sister. Throughout the long term, investigators researched numerous hypotheses. They talked with many individuals and took DNA tests from a few suspects. Yet, without much of any result. It would require 20 years and the development of new DNA innovations before police could catch a suspect. In March 2019, examiners sent the DNA found on JB's body and garments to the Virginia-based Paraba Nano Lab, which works in DNA phenotyping and hereditary qualities utilizing public ancestry datasets. In the wake of dissecting the DNA, the lab at last made an association with a suspect, Colin McCraney. 45-year-old Coley Lewis McCraney was never on the radar of specialists in the merciless 1999 homicides of J.B. Beasley and Tracie Hawlett until DNA ensnared him in the wrongdoing. McCraney, who's an Alabama local, moved on from Carroll Secondary School in Ozark in 1992, where he was a competitor as well as the leader of the library club. From that point onward, he joined the U.S. Flying Corps and served there from 1993 to 1997. He was hitched in 1992, however separated from his most memorable spouse in 1994. As per the reports of Dothan Hawk at that point, McCraney's ex recorded a grievance with the Flying Corps in 1994, expressing that McCraney had attacked her. McCraney remarried in 2001 and had youngsters with his subsequent spouse. Other than neglecting to pay kid support in 1998, McCraney had no crook record in the beyond 20 years or somewhere in the vicinity. He'd been functioning as a driver the entirety of his life and had worked for a few shipping organizations in Alabama throughout the long term. As of late, he helped to establish a congregation and filled in as a bishop there. At the hour of the killings, he was around 26 and residing on Listen By Drive in Ozark, around one pretty far from where the collections of J.B. Beasley and Tracie Hawlett were viewed as in 1999. 20 years after the killed secondary school seniors were found, Colin McCraney was captured after a traffic stop in Daleville, Alabama on March 19, 2019. In the meeting with police, after he was arrested, McCraney said he didn't have a clue about the girls. Investigators explained no thought process in the homicide. The fresh insight about his capture was an extraordinary shock to the Ozark People Group and the Ozark police boss, Marlins Walker, who went to class with McCraney, as it appeared to be that the many contorted strands in this perplexing case were at last all being integrated. His bond has been denied, forthcoming his preliminary on April 17, 2023. The insight about at last capturing the killer was a help to the family of the two girls. Be that as it may, remembering every one of the eerie recollections through the preliminary and hearings is another excruciating journey just on the horizon. After being found guilty of the murders of J.B. Beasley and Tracie Hawlett in April 2023, a jury of Colin McCraney's peers has sentenced him to life in prison without parole. We might dare to dream that the families can mend through a feeling of harmony that their little girls are at last getting equity, over 20 years after the fact. Do you accept McCraney is liable for the homicides? Assuming this is the case, what was the intention? Do you find any legitimacy in the police concealed claims? Tell us your considerations in the remarks area underneath. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for additional freezing stories like this.